Hi gents, this is Mr. Holding. This quick video is looking at cadastral maps and site plans. So a cadastral map is basically this thing here. Now you may have seen this in a number of different things. You know, if you've ever gone with mum and dad looking at properties or had site works at your house or anything like that, basically it sort of lays out a particular area or a suburb into particular housing lots. Okay, so you can see these, you know, lot 109, 110, 111 would be here, 187, that'd be 188, 189, 190. And cadastral maps or site plans generally have some key information on it. They, depending on the circumstances, they quite often have the area. So 189 here has an area of 796 square meters, and it also has various measurements. And so as cadastral maps have different information on them. Other information you'll get is you quite often get the length of the sides and the width. So 109 over here you can see is a rectangle. Okay. Now where possible, developers will make them as simple as possible. So like these ones here, this one here, this corner block you'll see has a, it's not a perfect square because they have to factor in roadways and things. And then, unfortunately though, in order to maximize space, they then have to come up with some unusual shapes. So 189 over here has a number of odd lines. So it's not as, to work out the area, it's not as simple as length times width, because the front and back borders are different and the left and right boundaries are different. Okay. Now, in terms of what a surveyor, a cadastral surveyor would need, there are four main things. Okay, so a theodolite, if I can pronounce that correctly, for measuring horizontal and vertical angles. All right, a level, so they can work out relative heights. Okay, a steel tape. Now we use a steel tape rather than a plastic tape is for accuracy. You know, those of you who have had to do athletics, at significant meets, they use metal tapes. The reason why they use metal tapes is because they don't stretch, or they don't stretch as much, and they quite often will check them against a standard measurement. The same thing with surveyors. Okay, a lot of those things are very similar, and a laser beam for measuring things. Okay, the other thing that's important information, you may have seen things like these. Okay, these are very similar to like datum points. They're called a permanent survey mark. Okay, and you'll notice that when a development goes in, or even in your own area, there might be some. This one, as you can see, this one looks quite old. They have them there for surveyors to use as a known reference. Okay, a known height above sea level, and known surveying points to go from. Okay. Now here's another example of a cadastral or site map that has a bit more detail in it. Apologies for the glare here. I'll try and fix that for you. All right, you'll notice we have a single lot here, okay, but not only do we have the measurements, okay, this is measured in millimeters, so you've got 75,000 millimeters, which is 75 meters, 28,000, 28 meters. You've also got the dwelling, you've got the width of the dwelling, or, and the depth of the dwelling, or length of the dwelling. You've got the measurement from the front. Okay, and you can be asked a variety of questions, okay, so I know in this one it asks how far from here to the back of the property. Well, it doesn't actually list that, but what it does list is the width of the dwelling and then the measurement from the front. So obviously to work out the distance from here to here, we want to get the whole distance and take away these two values here. Okay, so that there. Other information you'll see is these contour lines. Okay, so start off with 30,300. You know, that might be above sea level or something. And then 32, and again it's millimeters, so 30.3 meters above sea level, and it's 32.1 meters above sea level. So they might ask you, where's the high point in the property? So the high point is obviously at the back, so it's sloping upwards away from the road. Now further information you can get is, based on these angles, we can make assumptions here. Now we can see this first angle hits the corner here, but is further back. So we might assume that this section here is lower than 30.3. So this might be the low corner of the block. And then the opposite over here. We've got this line cutting through this corner, but it's forward of this. We can assume that this is the high point of the block. So in terms of the lowest point going through to the highest point, but in this case they're fairly straight, so we would assume it's a fairly decent run. We can also work out the gradient, we can also work the angle, okay, based on all the information here. Okay, so that's how you read a cadastral map and how you use it. Hope you found this helpful.